Hey guys, Michael Hyatt here. If you're watching the replay of this broadcast, thanks for joining us. I'm Michael Hyatt, and this is the Virtual Mentor Program, where my goal is to give you the confidence, the clarity, and the tools you need to win at work and to succeed at life. And today, we're going to be talking about how to escape the perfectionism trap, and I can't wait to get it. And by the way, if you're watching this replay, you can still give me lots of hearts just by tapping on the screen. They'll still register even when this is in replay mode. So let's start with you telling me where you're from. Kristen from Florida, Jean from Reims, France. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. Holly from Nashville. Hey, Holly. Niels from Denmark, New Hampshire, the UK, Alaska, Nebraska. That's where I was born. Florida, Eric from West Virginia, Floria from Virginia, Tina from Washington, Daniel from Atlanta. I have to take a breath because it's going by so fast. Welcome, guys. It's so great to have you here. If you're on Central Standard Time like I am, this is the lunch hour, but it may be any time because we've got people joining from Scotland and Jersey City, New Jersey, where it's an hour ahead of us. Casey from Eugene, a couple hours behind us. Somebody from Saudi Arabia. Awesome. It is awesome to see an international audience. So just a couple reminders to you guys. If you have a question, I'd love to hear from you, but just please, in the comment box, put 2 question marks, your name in all caps, and then your question. That way I'll make sure I can recognize you and I can see more clearly your question. Somebody from Brazil. Awesome. Been there. Loved Brazil. Obviously, give me the heart love. If there's something you say or that I say that resonates with you, just double tap on the screen, triple tap, quadruple tap, whatever. It's like digital applause, and I love it. So let's get started on our topic today. Again, I'm Michael Hyatt if you're just joining. I'm the author of the New York Times bestseller platform, Get Noticed in a Noisy World. I'm also the founder of Intentional Leadership, which is an online leadership development company. I blog at michaelhyatt.com, where I get about 1 million page views a month. I've also got a podcast called This Is Your Life. New episode, by the way, hitting iTunes tomorrow. Look for it. It's all about pessimism, and I hope you don't suffer from this because it's a dangerous malady that can affect every area of your life, and that's on tomorrow's podcast. Okay, so Sherry's coming in from Ventura County, California. Hey, Sherry. Maestra from Miami. So somebody just asked, what do you enjoy more, speaking or training? I kind of see them as some of the same. In other words, I hope that my speaking does provide training, and obviously I've got to speak to train. So I like them both. I like any opportunity I can to teach. I just love teaching. Hey, Kathy from San Diego. Somebody from Gallatin, which is very close to us here in Nashville. But I want to talk about escaping from perfectionism. If that is something that afflicts you, if you suffer from perfectionism from time to time, tell me yes in the comments. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so let me ask you another question. Because by the way, I suffer from it as well. In fact, let me just tell you a story. I really have spent most of my career in the book publishing industry, most recently, as most of you know, as the CEO of Thomas Nelson Publishers, where I worked for 17 years. I've been in the industry for about 30 years. But in book publishing world, a mistake can last forever. So, if you print a mistake in a book and you print thousands of copies of that book, those copies will still contain that mistake years, decades, maybe centuries later. So we intentionally slowed down the process. Some of you wonder why publishing is so slow, and this is one of the reasons. We slowed down the process so that we could avoid those embarrassing errors that appear in those final printed copies of books. The problem is that mentality doesn't serve you when it comes to most of the stuff that you want to do in life, and it didn't serve me either. Sometimes I've been perfectionistic and just couldn't ship it, couldn't get it out the door. For whatever reason, I just had to tinker with it a little bit more. And another bit of information from the book publishing world is that the industry estimates there are over 4 million, get this, 4 million unpublished manuscripts that are sitting in would-be authors' desk drawers, dresser drawers, closets, because they still want to tweak it a little bit more. And when I wrote a post on this topic of a paradigm shift that could change the perfectionism thing for you once and for all, it got thousands of shares on Facebook and retweets on Twitter because everybody suffers with it. And by the way, can you notice behind me? I've got a brand new, spiffy short code because the other one was running into my head. When I tried to use michaelhyatt.com, it didn't quite work. So we got a new short code. It's vmentor, as in virtual mentor.tv, and /, what did I put today? Perfect. Yeah, so that's that original blog post if you want to refer to it. And all of my scopes are archived at vmentor.tv/scopes. So what do you think? Do you like that new short code? Give me some hearts if you like it. It's a little shorter. Hopefully it's easier to read on the screen. Can you read that? Can you see it? Yes or yes? Rissa Hyatt says, love that. Thank you, Riss. Riss is my daughter, in case you don't know her. Neil says, great, yes. Awesome. Well, it's a privilege to mentor you guys. I really believe in the power of mentoring. But let me just tell you the paradigm shift that made a huge difference for me. So I signed up for Gmail, I don't know, when it first came out. And Google said that it was in beta. I think it still might be in beta. I mean, it was in beta for years. And I got to thinking, what if every project was a beta version? In other words, it's not the final thing. I'm not saying that's the best it could be, but it's good enough. And so I began to think of all the projects that I needed to ship, that I wanted to produce, the books I wanted to write, the courses I wanted to produce, my website, everything as a beta version. Not the final version, because in the world of digital media, things can be iterated quickly, improved, and relaunched. And that was a paradigm shift that made a huge difference for me. Now, I just want to share a couple thoughts on this further. Sometimes we need to get stuff out the door quickly. Like, do you have a project right now that you've been kind of stuck on because you're being too much of a perfectionist? Be honest. If you are, I want you to complete this sentence. I would ship this project, and just give me the name of the project, if I could just get over my perfectionism. What is it? Is it a book? Is it a course? Is it a business? Is it a relationship? What is it? So Michelle says, my album. Fantastic. The Gentleman's Brotherhood. Okay. Welcome, Sarah. Good to have you. A relationship. Painting my son's room. I would ship my online course. A website. Outage Communications. My yoga course. A new business. A book. A blog. An ebook. A patent. Yeah, I think it's true for all of us. But to change the paradigm and say, what if it didn't have to be perfect? What if good enough really is good enough? So a couple years ago, my daughter Megan had this idea for what we thought at the time was just going to be a master class at platformuniversity.com, which is a large membership site that I co-founded with my buddy Stu McLaren. And so she said, Dad, you know, for as long as I've known you, you've been a goal-centered person. And I think you could do an awesome masterclass for the January version of Platform University and could be really helpful for people if you could just talk about goals. And I said, great. So get this. So 2 weeks later, Megan comes to me and she says, Dad, I got a crazy idea. By the way, most crazy stuff in our business happens with that kind of statement. You know, I've got an idea to how to make it better. So she says, what if we turn that into a short course? And I said, Megan, it's October, and this really needs to ship in December if we're going to do that. She said, I think we can do it. So we flew to Toronto, where my video producer, Dean Rainey, lives, and we shot all 5 course videos and 3 launch videos in one day in a studio in downtown Toronto. Was it perfect? No. It was just a start. but it went crazy. We ended up selling a couple thousand copies of that course that first year. And I realized, though, and what kind of got me over it was, this idea of doing it so fast and getting it out there, was the idea that we could improve it and that we could make it even better next year. So we think of it like software, and that's the breakthrough that I want to give you today, is to think of your projects like software. It's in beta. So the Best Year Ever course, the next year, which was last year, we completely reshot the whole thing. Best Year Ever 2.0. And we shipped that. And we sold about 8,000 copies last year. And guess what we did this year in 2015? We totally reshot it again. Why? Because I've learned some new things. There's some things I'd like to say differently. There's some things I'd like to say more clearly. So now we have Best Year Ever. By the way, you can sign up for the waiting list at bestyearever.me. But it's in the can now. It's completely been reshot. We have a lot of new information in it, but it just keeps getting better every year. So would that work for you? If what you're working on right now, what you're struggling to bring into the world, could just be a beta version. You just want to ship the beta. And I want to just share with you quickly 3 ways that you can turn this whole idea and really make use of this paradigm to get more stuff out the door. And I ship a lot of stuff. I blog twice a week. I do a podcast once a week. I do several launches every year. I've got a lot of courses, a lot of content that we create. And it's because of this philosophy that's enabled me to get it out the door. So 3 ways that you can take advantage of this paradigm, okay? So number 1, I'm looking at my notes here, change your perspective. That's right. Just start with a different perspective. And don't say to yourself, this has got to be perfect. It's got to be good enough to help people. That's the key thing. Because what is it costing you? What is it costing the people that would be benefited from whatever it is that you're keeping to yourself? What is it costing to keep that close to the vest and not shipping it? Okay? So change your perspective. Number 2, narrow your focus. Wow. Part of the problem is sometimes we take on too much. And if you're a little bit entrepreneurial, like I am, it's much more interesting to chase the shiny and new instead of buckle down, stay focused, and deliver on what you've already committed to do. So I think a lot of what you have to do is to say no to new opportunities in order to finish and capitalize on your existing opportunities. So learn to just say no by narrowing your focus and stay focused on that thing you want to ship until you get it out the door. 3rd, don't confuse perfectionism with excellence. Okay? So these are 2 different things. Perfectionism is this elusive ideal that people pursue and never get to. Excellence is good enough. And I think, if you guys have been around me very long or you've seen any of my content, I really do aim for excellence, by which I mean I want to exceed your expectations. But I no longer aim for perfection. Okay? So that's a distinction. Is it as good as it possibly could be? Given the time and resources I have, yes. We've done the best we can. Now let's get it out the door, because here's another thing that happens. Until your product gets the input of your intended audience, I don't care if that's listeners, readers, whatever, it's never going to reach its full potential because you need the input of your tribe. So get it out the door. You're wasting time. So one last thought I'm going to leave you with, and I'm going to take some questions. Stop asking, is it perfect? And start asking, will it move the needle in people's lives? Let me say that again. I'm going to read it. Stop asking, is it perfect? And start asking, will it move the needle in people's lives? All right? What questions do you have? In the comment box, give me 2 question marks, your name, and then your question. Can you talk about how long it took you to get where you are? The whole time. Yeah, I think I could have done it a lot faster if I'd known some of the things that I know now, obviously, but that's just kind of the adventure of life. 1, what is your litmus test to determine something is good enough to ship? For me, it's kind of this inner sense of, can I be proud of it? I ship stuff with mistakes. I know sometimes there's mistakes in it. Sometimes we don't discover them until after we've shipped. There's times when we ship a blog post out or a podcast where I have a gaffe or some mistake, that's okay. We can pretty quickly correct it, okay? What other questions do you have? Patrick, what if breaching ethics, not the law, will make you a lot of money? Well, Patrick, what do you think? I mean, for me, I'm not willing to compromise my conscience for anything. It's not a matter of breaching the law. Hopefully, you know where true north is. You have a sense of right and wrong, and you can't ever violate that without doing damage to your own integrity. Forget the law. To me, the issue is not what's legal, but what do I know is right and wrong. Terrence says, what's the biggest thing you would have done differently in regard to getting going? Okay, this is not that profound, but I'm going to tell you. Start. That's right. Start. People and me, I'm include myself here, wait too long. I think I've got an acronym for this. Start, schedule, I can't remember what it is. But just start. Schedule the appropriate next action. Okay, so that's not the acronym, but that's the idea. What do you need to do? Just start. Get going. You know, a lot of stuff you'll figure out once you get kind of in the game, but some people want to wait too long and get it all figured out. You know, they want to know the beginning, the middle, and the end. That's not usually how it works. You know, it's not like you're just reading a map. Usually you have enough light to take the next few steps, and that's enough. Ginger says, how can we know if producing the beta version is worth the financial investment? Sometimes you don't, but I always try to do a calculation on that, and I want to base my investment on a modest return. So, for example, I knew that with that Best Year Ever course, if we could sell 200 copies of that, we would break even and we'd recover our production costs. We ended up selling several thousand that first year, so it was a huge home run. But yeah, I do kind of a formal calculation process, and then I just kind of do the gut check, and you get better at this over time. But just say, do I think I can get that kind of return? And there is going to be risk, okay? But just make sure it's a risk that you can absorb if you lose. Kristen, how do you get over your own fear to get started? I think for me it was understanding the difference between courage and confidence, okay? So I usually don't have confidence at the beginning, but I have to kind of muscle up courage. And courage is the willingness to act in spite of your fear. So do you feel afraid? Congratulations, you're normal. I always feel afraid. I don't care if it's doing this scope. I felt a little bit of fear as I got started. I'm about to reach up here and I'm about to push the start button, and a little bit of fear. You know, what if I gaffe? What if I make a mistake? What if nobody comes? What if this isn't an interesting topic? I feel fear. When I step up on stage, I feel a little bit of fear. But courage is the willingness to take the right action in spite of that fear. Okay? And you can all do this. And the more you practice it, the better you get at it. Question, how do I focus on a niche market when I help many small business owners? Well, first of all, sometimes at the beginning you can't be that particular. You know, you can help everybody, or you want to help everybody that comes through the door because you need the income. But then you start noticing that there's some people that you help better than others. Some people who can benefit more from your expertise. And then you can start going narrow. And the more narrow you go, you know, the better off you'll be. The riches are in the niches, as they say. Tanya says, how do you know when you've gotten too much feedback or not enough? Yeah, that can lead to the paralysis of analysis as well. So I want some feedback, certainly, but then at some point, you've got to decide. You can't put this on your followers. You can't put it on your customers. Get enough feedback. But what really has to drive you is your vision for what it is you're trying to create. And one of the things I try to do in creating products, by the way, is that I just try to scratch my own itch. I try to solve my own problem. The reason I got really good at goal setting is because there was a time when I wasn't very good at goal setting. And so I learned how to set goals and how to accomplish goals and turned that into a technology for goal setting. So I scratched my own itch. Somebody says, good advice. Awesome. Any other questions? Comments? Jonathan, what's the good enough process to write an ebook? Yeah, well, there, again, I don't think it has to be perfect. The great thing about an ebook is that if you get it wrong or you get some additional input after you've published it, you can update it like that. Unlike a conventional printed book where you'd have to recall them all from the marketplace or issue an errata sheet or do a second edition, with a digital book, you can just make the correction and fix it. Done that plenty of times myself. Kristen says, such great info. Thank you. You're welcome, Kristen. Thank you for thanking me. Crystal says, hi, Michael. Good to see you. Hi, Sarah. Who else? Questions. What are you still stuck on? What's keeping you from getting going? Sajal says, how do you overcome people who judge you when you just start? You know, I read something yesterday. I'm not sure who said it, but it was awesome. They said the same people that judge you at the beginning are the same people after you succeed that are telling the stories about how they know you. Okay? So the best form of revenge is success. So I just, try to not pay too much attention to that and just keep moving forward. There's this little thing called the resistance. And Stephen Pressfield's written a lot about this. I just gave this book to my trainer, Andy Nelson, this morning. The book's called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. If you haven't read that, you must read it. Because what Pressfield talks about is that anytime you determine that you're going to improve in some area of your life, whether it's write a book, lose weight, improve your marriage, graduate from college, whatever it is, anytime you decide to make an improvement, there's an invisible resistance. The stronger the resolve, the bigger the outcome, potentially, the more the resistance. So when it shows up, guess what? It's confirmation that you're on the right track. So don't resent it, welcome it, expect it, but do not let it stop you. You got to punch through it. Somebody says, I'm really enjoying your daily show. Whoops, I just scrolled past. Paige, what do you do when you feel like you just don't have enough hours in the day? Wow, I feel like that almost every day. And it's a good thing because we'd work ourselves to death if we had 40-hour days, right? So it forces you to prioritize, to triage, to stop fiddling around, stop checking social media, and get focused on the 2 or 3 things that really must be delivered today if you're going to accomplish your goals. Great question, Paige. Yeah, prioritize. Teresa, I would like you to do a Periscope about your upcoming life plan book. Teresa, I do plan on doing that. The book is called Living Forward. You can find out more about that at michaelhyatt.com/life-plan. I wish I had a short code up here, but I don't. Tyler says, best way to build an audience. Hands down, without question, start a blog. That's how I got started. That's how lots of people that I've trained have gotten started. And it's just a great way. It costs you almost nothing. It'll help you find your voice. It'll help you offer value. And it'll help you build a platform. We can teach you more about that at platformuniversity.com. Sheila, is blogging dying? No. I've been reading this for 10 years, and it's absolutely not true. My blog has never been more popular. A blog is a great way to connect with an audience. A podcast is another alternative, or video. But the main thing is to begin to have a repository for your content, someplace where you can add value. Nancy says, can Periscope be a starter instead of a blog? Yes. I've been thinking this very thing, Nancy. I think it's a great way because it gives you an opportunity to express your thoughts out loud, get reaction from an audience, and see if anybody really connects with it. And then from that, you can even write blog posts. I've done that a couple times. Danielle, how do I get over trying to do it all myself because I want to be perfect? You guys ever seen that Bob Newhart video called, I think it's just called Stop It, where he's counseling with somebody who's a psychotherapist and they express their problems and he just says, well, stop it. So that's kind of my answer to getting over that. Just stop doing that. I mean, the cool thing is once you start delivering on the small projects and begin to make an income stream, then you can afford to hire other people that can help you. Clay says, I'm late. Did you permanently change broadcast time? No, I did not. But here's the thing I've discovered. Ordinarily, this show, the Virtual Mentor Show, is going to be at 12:30 Central Daylight Time. But there's going to be some times, due to my schedule, that it's going to have to be at another time. Like, for example, today, we're doing a live Q&A for Platform University at 1 o'clock Central. So I've got to be in enough time to get on. I'm doing that with Shalene Johnson, at Shalene Johnson. By the way, if you're not watching her Periscope broadcast, you must. So she and I are doing a live Q&A because she taught the master class this last month and was terrific, by the way. There are times like next week I have my Inner Circle Mastermind in town, and I'll probably do some broadcasts in the evening. So we'll change this up a little bit depending on my circumstances. Isn't a book simply a tool nowadays to promote other products? Yeah, but it can't be just a promotional tool because people see through that, right? People are not stupid. Your readers are not stupid. If you don't really offer value, same thing for a blog, same thing for a scope. I mean, do I use this for promotion? Yes, but I have to add value. If you're not getting value out of this, then it's not going to help you, okay? It's not going to help me. So a book has got to add value. But I will say this. The best way to think of a book, and the way I think of it, it's a business card that initiates a relationship, okay? So everything good that's happened in my life, career-wise, has come out of a book. That's where it started. So My Fit for Life said, you and Chalene Johnson will blow my mind. Chalene is awesome. Man, she's one of my very favorite people. I love her energy. Somebody said, love your work. Glad to finally catch a live broadcast. Thrilled that you're here. Marissa says, make sure to share this scope if you found value in it. Yes, thanks, Riss. Please do share this. You know, I'm doing this as a 30-day experiment. And I can tell you that one of the metrics my team and I will be looking at is how many subscribers do we have? Is it really worth investing in this channel when I've got a podcast, I've got a blog, I've got a membership site, I've got a bunch of stuff going on. So is it really worth it? Do you guys think this is? I mean, is this something that frankly is worth your time? If it is, give me some hearts. Somebody says, I think your scopes are working. Awesome. Fantastic. Scope World has introduced me to you. Oh, fantastic. Great. So worth it. Thank you so much. Well, you see that little icon in the lower right-hand corner? You can share this particular broadcast by tapping on that, scrolling up, and clicking that share icon, or more importantly, just to subscribe so that next time I do a scope, you'll be notified immediately. So guys, let me just leave you one parting thought. I do this every day, but it's kind of a reminder to myself. So sometimes when it sounds like I'm preaching, I'm really just preaching to me. Today is still a blank canvas. There's a lot of day left. You know, I've got hours to go before I hit the rack and snooze, and I'll bet you do too. But regardless of where you are in the world, how much of your day is left, I want you to think of it as a blank canvas. You can paint, create whatever you want. Make something beautiful. Make this day count. You'll be glad you did, and I'll see you tomorrow, God willing. Thanks for joining me. Love you guys.